Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to my second tier list episode. This is as of update 1.5.1 for Bannerlord. So, gonna be running another Captain Co-op tier list today. I'm gonna try and keep it short. There have been a lot of changes, but I know the last one ran really long, so I'm gonna go ahead and stop doing the intro and let's just rapid fire these real quick. So, first thing we have are the Raiders. These things are terrible still. Cav are worse after the update, not usable. Next we have Vanguard, useless too. Again, it's just coming down to after the update, Cav have been nerfed so unbelievably much. Infantry have longer spears. It just doesn't work out. People are running more shock infantry as well, so not practical. Mounted warriors are going to be situational, just because they can be excellent in countering other cav or mounted archers. Particularly in a Kuze matchup, they can be very useful. Brigands are horrific. The javelins got nerfed, so even their one role they had as a skirmisher unit is void at this point. Nomads, unusable, no reason to. Lancers or mounted archers are going to be better. Skirmishers, unusable. Again, throwables got nerfed, doesn't work. Bedouin, yeah, I guess I'll say they're situational at best. You can use the camels with spears to, maybe try and counter some other horses, but other than that, garbage unit now. We have the Arbalist. This will be situational at best. Archers have been nerfed into oblivion. They have no movement speeds, you can't run away. Sharpshooters situational as well. They're not very good at all. They don't have any melee capacity, and again, archers got nerfed. That really hurts. Wildings, man, I guess I would say they're maybe situational solely because they have decent armor and they have the shields and their swords or whatever. So I guess not really too effective. Oathsworns, oh boy, these have jumped up in the ranks. They went from being decent or okay to all the way at the top. Major changes. They have a mace that does 58 damage, the Imperial Mace, so really insane damage. But they also got an armor buff from 41, I believe it was, to 43. So you get 43 armor with the mace, or you can go with improved armor, which gives you 52 armor overall with a sword that has 68 damage. They now also have the long spear after the update, so they're the best heavy infantry in the game at this point. The mace is over the top, and their armor is ridiculous. Either option is really good, and really crucial to protecting your savages now. Next, we have Drunsnik, which are going to be situational. Just the cav nerfs with the spears and also the couch lance damage. If you're not going at a very high speed, you're not going to kill anyone with it. So even if you hit them with the couch lance, it might do 70, 80 damage and not even get a kill. So those are just going to be situational. Rabble are okay at best. Everyone runs infantry now with shock. They run shock infantry, so you just can't get any kills. But they can still shield, and if the enemy does run archers for some reason, you can run them and they do okay. Step bowmen, I guess situational. You could use the extra arrows potentially, but Khan's Guard are going to be a lot better most of the time. Have the regular archers for Azurai, situational again. Archers are just so weak now, not really good incentive to use them. Veterans, situational, same thing. We have Mamluks, these are situational as well. Garbage after the update, same thing, man. Like the Drunsnik, it's just cav aren't as effective. And Mamluks in general were the weakest heavy cav. They have the worst armor and like the worst weapons too, so they've always been kind of crappy. Recruits, this one hurts. This one hurts me a lot because I used to think they were good in every situation, but the mobility nerfs from throwing javelins and the javelin nerf, they're basically only situational at this point. I hate to do that, but it's just the reality of the situation. They're that bad now. Not really many uses at this point. Palatine Guard are going to be situational because their Manavlian doesn't even work anymore, so you're just going to end up swinging a one-handed sword. You can use a Manav, but your men just ignore using the Manavlian and just use the one-handed sword, so you have no melee capacity, and there's archers suck, so not going to work. Next, we have the Courser, situational, just because the The Manav with the improved armor is still the best strategy. It's honestly hasn't been affected too much from the update, mostly because you were supposed to attack enemy archers, which hasn't that interaction hasn't changed, and other cav, which that interaction hasn't changed. So the interactions in which you would use a courser hasn't really changed per se, but against infantry, yeah, you can't do anything now because they have those longer spears. So that doesn't work out for you. Next, we have cataphracts, situational. It just doesn't do a whole lot. Honestly, okay, I'll switch my mind on cataphracts. Maybe this is probably biased, but I just think the Kontos is so good. You can outrange all other cav and even outrange a lot of spears because the Kontos is 230 range. And for that reason alone, you can kind of Rambo it and just run in or have your men go in and counter any other horses or archers really, really nice. So I think they're still okay, but not great after the update. Peasant Levy. I guess situational. I really want to put basically unusable, but I have seen people go with improved armor bill hook, which, to be clear, is trash compared to what it was and is substantially worse than the Vulture. The Vulture with improved armor completely blows this thing out of the water, not even close. But you could maybe argue numbers against archers or something, but nobody plays archers. So, I don't know. I'll put them there in case you want to run shields or something, but not a very good unit. Next, we have sergeants, which are decent. Their damage output is meh. Their weapons are meh. Their armor's not great. Numbers are okay. It's just the reason why sergeants can be viable is because vultures are absolutely overpowered right now. They're the best shock infantry in the game. Maybe the warrior two-handed axe is better, but number 1 or number 2 for sure. And you just need something to hold a shield up in front, so you're always going to have like maybe 1 or 2 in a competitive situation. Next we have knights, which are okay, just because knights were just so beastly before the update, having that improved armor with 50 and really, really solid horses and that good lance, but the lances got nerfed, so that's not good, and horses are weaker to all these infantry that are spamming so many spears now, so just not effective. Next, we have the clan warrior. These are... I'm going to go ahead and say the clan warrior is probably decent still after the update. They still have the Targe, the small shield, that's what it is, and the mace. And they now have the improved armor pike option. They did get access to a pike, so if they run any cav and you happen to run the pike option, they don't stand a chance. You will absolutely destroy them. You have 23 guys that are all running pikes. Cav don't have a chance, but the shock infantry just crushed through them. Next we have Fian. I'm gonna say I'm faltering between okay and situational because longbows didn't really change a whole lot between the update. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and say they're just situational. The reason why is because all the enemy are running vultures anyways, so if you get into a melee fight, you're just gonna lose. The two-handed sword is really irrelevant. So if you're gonna go with any kind of archers for Britannia, you just have to go rangers because you're gonna die to literally any infantry anyways. The two-handed sword will not make a difference, so you're just getting less firepower in exchange for a bit more armor, which you'll just die by vultures anyways. Vultures, guards, manavs, warriors, it doesn't help right now. Next we have berserkers. I'm gonna say they're okay. I would say they're situational just for the throwing weapons, and that warrior two-handed axe is so unbelievably overpowered right now. It's the best or the second best option in the game. Really needs to be nerfed, and the other options need to be buffed in Sturgia, but it's just so dominant. So you're not really ever going to see berserkers ever. They have no armor and no numbers. Next we have hunters, which are going to be situational because everyone plays Sturgia, just runs warriors now, so you'll use hunters in, some weird situation, hence situational, where you think the enemy is going to run a bunch of infantry of their own, like vultures, and you want to get some free picks, but then again, why not just run warriors? You can beat their infantry anyways, so basically you would just play them as maybe a counter to some sort of like mounted archers if they run those, or some weird hybrid option, but not really practical in most Sturgian matchups. Against randoms it works, but in any competitive scene there's just no chance here. Next we have mounted archers. I think these are going to be decent. Or, yeah, I'll go with decent. The reason I'm not going to put them higher is because somebody on the other team is basically always running cav these days, and if they run their own cav, your mounted archers have no defense. They get absolutely crushed. But after update 1.51 or 1.50, which is really the patch, you can now get extra arrows for 50 total instead of the 40 that you had, so you get an extra 10 shots to work with, which is really nice because you are playing a lot of mobility and a lot of arrows don't tend to even land, so that's certainly a buff. It's one of the few range troops that actually got buffed as a result of patch 1.50. Next we have Archer Militia. And these, okay, actually, this is actually the recruit icon. I messed it up, but they look the same, so that's fine. These are also going to be situational anyways, same category. Archers are just not good now. The crossbows are okay, but the damage output's not good. The fire rate's bad now after this update. And they don't have any melee capacity, so just not very practical. Next, we have the Legionary, which is going to be just decent overall. Just because you usually have to run one or two just to protect your manavs from the initial throwables, and then you just go in and crash and protect. And they also work fine against cav having those long spears. And of course, if they run archers, you're fine, but nobody really does. Or if they do, they get crushed. But yeah, they're just decent to have one or two players with them, but not super dominant. Next, we have that look like the Savage, I think. No, okay, this is going to be, I can't even tell what that is. I'll skip it for now. Alright, so I'll just go on to the Savage then. Savages are going to be good in most situations just because they lose to other shock infantry. The Vultures, Manavs, Guards will one-shot them. I believe Warriors with a headshot can also one-shot them. And also, the Oathsworn is just so dominant after this update. Like, you can run an all Oathsworn army and actually stand a chance against people. They have that much armor. It's ridiculous. So for that reason alone, because Oathsworns are just so incredible right now, Savages, you can swap out and maybe even go like 3 Oathsworn, 3 Savage. You don't need to run like 5 Savages in a composition to win. So the Rocks did get a buff, so you can throw those. They're not entirely a meme at this point. You get 20 of them, they do enough damage, you land like 3 or 4, and you clean up with the Romp Fire, but they also did get an extra 10 health buff. So, I mean, they're going to be good in a lot of situations, but it's just, I think the Oathsworns have just kind of overpowered them, so. And they're terribly weak to any kind of range, of course, if anybody's run it. We're going to have the Varyags next. I think these are severely overrated, but I guess I'll put them as decent. I think you can just run Warrior Mace and get better support overall. You get more shields, and you can get more damage output with the mace or the sword, whatever you choose. But Varyags still have a lot of armor, and of course, if you can mob somebody with Varyags, which is very hard to do because you have no numbers, so if you're able to 2-on-1 a squad, you'll crush them because those axes do like 100 damage in a swing. It's ridiculous. So they can still be fine, and they still have a lot of armor. Their shields are decent. It's just, I think Warriors are going to be a better option right now. Next, we have Spear Infantry, and these are going to be good in most situations. The reason why I have to put these here is because, well, if you're playing Khuzait, horses have been very weak lately, so you kind of have to just spam infantry. And luckily, Spear Infantry do have 18 total population, so the most out of any heavy infantry. And that mace having 58 damage, it really can cut through. You can cut through other heavy infantry with Spear Infantry quite well. It's just you start to lack in fights against Vultures or just Manav, shock infantry in general, because you don't have a whole lot of armor, so you don't take a whole lot of hits to die. You're kind of squishy. Next, we have the Khan's Guard. Now, Khan's Guard is still going to be okay, and the reason for that is that the Manavs that they have, or rather the Glaive, they have the Glaive, the same thing as a Manav basically. It still works properly, and they can be used as bootleg shock infantry, so you can run in, hold fire, and just swing with a bunch of glaives and get a lot of kills, honestly. And for that reason alone, you you can say they're okay. You can always have a guy who will run a cons guard, maybe even two, and they can shoot some arrows and then run in with like rabble or spear infantry and act as shocks with the glaives. So they're still fine in that regard, but not what they used to be. Now we have lancers. Again, I'm going to say these are okay just because you can go with the glaive and the tougher horse. So you can have a horse that's nearly indestructible with a decent weapon now, ever since the equip swap, to where now they've changed to where the glaive is on the same slot with improved armor, but they changed the tougher horse to the right slot. So you can now have less armor, but a horse that's stronger. And you can take the bow as well. I don't like taking it. It doesn't do any damage, and it's just kind of annoying to wield, but the tougher horse has 270 health and ridiculous armor, so it doesn't really ever die. Next, we have Manavlian infantry. These are going to be good in every single situation. The long Manavlians are dominant, crazy range. They did get a nerf, having only one pila now, so throwables have been substantially nerfed for them, but they still hold up pretty decent in this current age, especially when everyone's spamming shock infantry. You really don't have a choice. You have to spam them. And you can beat people in long-range situations because the Manavs are quite slow to swing but have good damage, and the long Manavlian has excessive length. But if you get into any close quarters situation, you'll lose to shorter range ones, such as the Vulture. And I think the Vulture is currently, again, like I said, the best shock infantry category, or maybe second if you want to say warriors are on top. They have the Francescas. You can throw those. They do good damage. And that improved armor, you now get 22 armor because the devs thought increasing armor was okay for these. I don't know why they got increased armor, but now they have a stock of, I think, 13 armor, which doesn't make any sense. I don't know why their armor got buffed. But they have more armor. The Volge swings fast. It's short range, so if you get into a close fight, you can beat opponents well. It's just a crushing option. And then, of course, we have the Warriors. Always usable. Warrior two-handed axe, like I've already said. Completely dominant. Not really much else to say there. Probably the best thing in the game. We have the Tribal Warriors. These are going to be... They're still going to be decent-ish. After the updates, they got their mace nerf, so they don't have a heavy mace. Their old mace used to do 56. Now they have a lighter mace, which does swing a bit faster, but only does 47 damage. So your ability to crush through armor substantially diminished, and since everyone's running shocks, it's normally only good to have one tribal warrior on your team, since they do have a lot of numbers. So you'll run like one tribal warrior, 5 guards, and that's going to be a typical composition, but brute forcing with tribal warriors just doesn't have the dominance ever since that mace got nerfed and that everyone's running shock infantry of their own. Guards are going to be always usable, obviously, because again, shock infantry. That's just how it is. The Bardici does 153 damage. I still think guards are great. And now that Azurai has no range power because bows got nerfed, these are actually the last stand for this faction. Like, if these get nerfed and bows don't get changed, Azurai will become the worst faction in the game. Like, undisputable. The guards having really high damage output is their only saving grace right now. The faction is terrible other than guards, so they can carry, but it's very, very hard to play anything else other than guards as Azurai in a competitive situation. And lastly, I think... What do we have here? Oh, I know what I'm missing. Okay. I am currently missing the Ranger. Now, I think... Yeah, I messed this up earlier. So this is actually the Clan Warrior, which I discussed earlier, and this is going to be the Ranger. So the Ranger is going to be okay just because longbows didn't really get nerfed after the update. They still have like the same fire rate because the draw time to accuracy combined with the horrendous time to get accurate now. It takes forever for your bow to become accurate. The circle starts humongous over the whole screen and then slowly closes in. Longbows have such a long draw time that it doesn't really matter. So they still got the same fire rate and they can provide decent range fire. And you're going to lose in a melee fight anyway, so like you may as well go with Rangers over Fiend at this point. But anyways, that's going to be it for this tier list. I tried to keep it a bit shorter. I just kind of rapid fired. As you can see, this balance patch is terrible. Most stuff is really, really bad. This may look skewed, but this is the reality of the situation in Captain Co-op right now. All range troops are basically worthless. Skirmishers are basically worthless. Shock infantry are essentially the only thing that's usable right now, just because they run faster than they used to, and bows and throwables have been nerfed, so you can just run in and just kill everyone. It's really, really unbalanced right now. But yeah, I hope the devs do a lot of fixes in the next update. There's serious balancing issues. We need archers back. We need skirmishers to get serious revamps. And shock infantry need to get nerfed. I really hope that gets changed because the game is in a really, really bad state right now. But that's about it for this tier list. Let me know what you think. I think it's pretty accurate. I've played a lot, and I think this is a good encapsulation of the game. If you disagree, let me know in the comments below. And that's going to be it for this episode, and I will see you guys next time. Peace.